Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and I'm going to rehash a video I covered a couple days ago, and that's about AlphaDestiny and the 600-pound deadlift. And I want to talk about why it matters that he can't deadlift 600 pounds, that he failed. This is actually important because it comes down to his honesty with what he's doing with his training. And that's the big deal. You know, this guy made a whole video, like a 20-minute long video, trying to prove that I'm a liar. Yet right here, he's got direct line with what his content is, the lifts that he's doing, what it carries over to, what his training entails. He's standing here lying, and it's provable. It's provable. Now, he said in a little video he did yesterday, yoke training is not deadlift training. Well, that's sure as hell obvious at this point when he does all these different easier versions of the deadlift that let you lift a lot more weight to try to trick people into thinking he can deadlift a lot of weight, and then when he goes to deadlift, he's way weaker than people expected. Like that behind the back deadlift, most people can behind the back with straps more than they can conventional deadlift by a significant amount. So people are sitting there thinking a 585 behind the back deadlift means he could deadlift 585 normal. Oh no, there are plenty of people out there who deadlift behind the back who actually do the exercise. I've known guys, I've seen guys over the years who can do somewhere between 50 and 100 pounds more than their normal deadlift. So that you guys understand that. Now, the whole thing is his yoke training. Well, I'm passionate about yoke training. All his yoke training is called training your traps. He's talking about all this talk about specificity of training, but the entirety of his yoke training is basically about building one muscle group. The whole focus of his training, everything he does, his channel now is about building your upper back and traps. You could just do that with shrugs. In fact, if you did it with shrugs, you would get faster results. Why? Because shrugs are easier to recover from. Full range of motion shrugs actually are easier to recover from than a lot of the stuff he does, so you could actually do it very frequently. You could get away with doing shrugs probably almost every day and recover from it and actually get more stimulus, and your traps would grow more. If that was what you were obsessed with, if a person said, I'm obsessed with getting bigger traps, you just do bunches of shrugs. You just be specificity of training. That's easy. That's simple. There's nothing to that. There's no need to give it a special name, call it yoke training. I mean, come on, guys. This is ridiculous. And that's the thing, is that this guy sells ebooks and everything. And here's what a lot of this comes down to. It comes down to strength and being honest with what you're really doing. And that's a big part of it. Because this guy claimed, well, you know, I hit a sumo deadlift of 500 for 9 reps the other day before he did the 600. Here's the problem with that math. Here's the problem with that math. You know what? If he actually did 500 for 9 reps on the sumo deadlift, even with straps on, that would actually be the single most impressive lift he has ever performed on camera. You need to understand that. That would actually be considerably more impressive from a actual strength perspective. That would actually be more difficult than anything he's ever successfully done on camera. That's more impressive than his 515 high bar trap bar deadlift. That 515 for 10 is actually much easier than 500 for 9 with pulling all the way from the floor with full range of motion. With either conventional or sumo, that's actually a much harder thing. And the thing is, the most impressive lift he's ever done, he just happened to not film it. The guy's a professional YouTuber at this point. He didn't film the most impressive lift he's ever attempted and successfully completed as a YouTuber. I can understand if it's before he was on YouTube, before he had a camera. Right, I get that. But he's documenting what he's doing. Why didn't he video it? I want you guys to do some math here for a moment. Go to any 1-rep max calculator. Any of them. There's easy ones to do. The simplest one you plug in is reasonably accurate. Reasonably accurate. Now, when we're doing higher reps, they don't always carry over because people who practice high reps tend to be a little better at high reps, and they might calculate a higher max than they're capable of, right? They might calculate a higher max than they're capable of, and people who do really low reps, it might undershoot it because they're not always quite as good at high reps. Well, he trains mostly low reps. He does a lot of low rep training. So, well, there you go. There's the police coming to get Strap-on Destiny for lying. But plug it into a calculator. If you take his 515 times 10 The average calculator will show that his max on that should be about 687, right? In the 680, 690 range, he pulled 700 with a high handle trap bar. The same exercise that he did 10 reps for 515. He actually beat the calculator's estimated max by 13 pounds. By 13 pounds. So he's about 10 to 15 pounds above what his max should have been if we went off of his rep work on a similar type exercise. It's a pull. Plug in 500 for 9. 500 for 9. His claimed sumo lift. His claimed sumo lift. What do you guys get in the calculator? 640-ish? 640, 650? So you're telling me that the same calculator that you use to calculate his high handle trap bar, that he lifted more than it's capable, that it showed his max should be, but when he goes to the sumo deadlift, he can't even pull 50 pounds lighter than his calculated max from his other rep work? That seem a little fishy to you guys? I want you guys to think about that for a minute too. Those were real close to weight and reps. He can do 515 for 10 on an exercise and then hit 700 on that exercise on camera for a max. 700. You take 15 pounds off, 15 and lose 1 rep, and he can't do 600. He can't do 100 pounds less. Are you serious? You're telling me he has the strength to do that sort of rep work on a longer range of motion exercise? It's just more fatiguing. He can get all those reps from all the other training he's done, has carried over, giving him the ability to do that, but he can't hit 100 pounds over his, he can't do it for a single. People say, well, he only missed it by 5 pounds. Oh, no, he didn't miss that sumo by 5 pounds. Oh, hell no. Go watch the video. Watch it over and over. I saved a copy. He's humping the bar. He didn't just miss the lockout. He's like, I know I hitched. He hitched 3 times and never got the bar within 6 inches of the lockout. He had to hitch at his thighs because he had no speed left, no strength left, nothing left. Nothing left. He had to hitch before he even got middle of the thigh and duck under it, and he hitched 3 times. And on the 3rd hitch, his leg rolling against the bar caused it to roll and helped probably roll his straps loose. And then he couldn't hold on to 600 pounds because he has no grip strength. The problem with that is that this is a guy who said a month ago that he was sure his max was over 600. He was sure of it. His max is nowhere near 600 even on a sumo, even with straps, even with a belt. This is a guy who had been training beltless up until this point and said, I know my max is at least 600. He failed 600. He might have failed 585 the same way. Because that 600 was not close. That wasn't one of those, oh, he almost got it. No, he had to hitch 3 times trying to get it up, and he didn't have any lockout strength left. And everyone was saying, no, he's really strong. A 700 high handle trap bar, he could probably deadlift over 600. There's no way. There's no way it's adding 100 plus pounds. Because I said, you know what? That high handle trap bar, most guys I know pull 100 pounds or more on that exercise versus a conventional deadlift. And everyone said no, all his fans said no, you're wrong. It doesn't add that much. He hit 700 on it, and when he tried to use straps and a belt on sumo, he failed 600. He isn't even within 100 pounds. He is over 100 pounds different. In other words, the high handle trap bar is over 100 pounds more than his deadlift. We don't know how much because we don't know what his max is. He's never deadlifted more than 500 pounds that we've seen, like a legitimate deadlift. We have never seen him do over 500. Ever. Not that I'm aware of it. I missed something. Conventional or sumo, we've never seen a pull from the floor over 500 pounds by this guy. And then people say, oh, his deadlift couldn't be that low. It is. It is. You give this guy a conventional deadlift, I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's not capable of pulling 550. I don't think he can pull 550. He's not capable of it. He can't do it. And that's the reality of it. And the problem is that he said that he could. The problem is that he uses all these training methods to use much heavier weight than he would ever be able to use on other exercises as trickery. To talk about overload, well, it's going to make him massive. Is he really that big? I mean, seriously, is the guy that big? Guys like, but his traps are big. I have really big calves. Does that mean I'm a pro bodybuilder? One muscle. The guy has one big muscle. One muscle. It's well developed, and everyone talks about that he's getting big from what he's doing. He has one muscle. All his focus is on one muscle, and you run a successful YouTube channel off training one muscle. But the reality of it is that this is provable that he's lying about his sumo deadlift. Like, he lied about what his max was, and you know what? That could be ego. That could be ego. But the thing is, go run the calculators. He also claims he pulled 500 for 9 the other day and didn't video it. Do the math. 515 for 10 on the high handle trap bar equal a 700 pound max. 500 for 9, 600 failure. Think on that for a moment. You're honestly telling me that on exercises that use similar muscles, it's the same basic exercises. The sumo deadlift and the trap bar and the high handle trap bar deadlift use the same basic muscles. Maybe not in the same priority. The same basic muscles are used. A similar motor pattern is used. You're going to tell me that his calculated 687 max turns out to be a 700 on one, and a 640 to 650 calculated on his other reps, he can't even get 600? Completely fails it? This is bullshit. He's lying about the sumo also. The guy's flat lying about, this is what I lifted. But didn't bother to film it. But it's very obvious from his strength levels when you compare the other stuff that he's not capable of it. He isn't physically capable of it. He lied and made it up. And you guys people want to buy programs from the guy. You know what? A sucker is born every minute. Anyone, I tell you what, man, anyone who wants to buy a program from this guy, pay money for a program from this guy after this bullshit. You want to buy a program from him? I have some real estate for sale. I have some beautiful oceanfront property in Arizona that I will sell to you guys for pennies on the dollar for its value. It's amazing. It's fantastic. You need to see it. I got something to sell you. Because if you're buying a program from this guy after this shit, you're a fucking dumbass. Plain and simple. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.